Because when that person dies or miss it, then you're screwed. You don't have a spouse.
Hi friends, it's Brittany Valadez here from BravelyDaily.com. I'm so excited for you guys to be joining me because I have a special guest with me today. Yes, I have the wonderful, the beautiful, the amazing couple, Jalen and Cacie. If you guys haven't heard about them, you're going to be obsessed with them by the end of this video, and if not by the end of the series, because they are fantastic. So Jalen and Cacie actually became popular because it all began with one particular video, and then the Jalen and Cacie stories blew up. And that is what their ministry is about now, catering to godly marriages. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. Now, you guys, follow me on social media. I will list my social media accounts in the description box below. All right, let's get into this interview. Now, there are many people actively trying to find the one. I want everyone on this channel to assume we're talking about a person who is trying to find out if another believer is the one. So for example, the Bible talks about not being unequally yoked with unbelievers. If someone is not a Christian, we're going to safely assume that that person is not the one, at least for right now, until he or she gets saved. What are your thoughts on the one? Is there just one person that God has for everyone? And second of all, how do you know when you're hearing God's voice and it's not just your voice, your own thoughts or confirmation?
For part one, you always say there's a type, not necessarily one person. Like, I've billions of people on this planet, there's only one person just for you. Because when that person dies or miss it, then you're screwed. You don't have a spouse. So we believe in a type. And you can explain a little more about that.
Yeah, so one thing is, don't look for the star in the sky, because you're likely not going to get it. A lot of times we hear great stories about people who, it just seems like my brother has a great story about the way that he met his wife. They met at college. He's before the Lord praying on his knees at a worship service. She comes, taps him on the shoulder, sits in front of them, speaks a word from the Lord, a word of knowledge to him. It's just like so perfect. And I just love their story. It's funny. They met and got married in less than they met, got together less than a year, and then the following year they got married. It's like a great, and I was his best man. She was a matron on it. It was great. But anyway, sometimes you get stuck on the stories, but I feel like our story is kind of lackluster. Basic, but some people think it's great, whatever. But no, here's what it is. And here's what I do with my wife, and I tell this to men specifically. Okay, one of the reasons why people struggle so much with this God or not is that they don't have a relationship with God to hear his voice in the first place. And if you're lacking that, you really have no business even dealing with this topic. You should already know who you are and where you're going. In a way, you should already know your type. It should be pretty easy. And when I say type, I'm not talking about personality type and things like that. It's one of those things where when your father said that to you, you were so in the zone with the spirit of God.
Yeah, because I had just X'd out, because I was in that mode. Well, I was in a mode once where I was struggling with my singleness. I'm like, God, here I am getting closer to 34, because I got married at 34. And I was like, I'm not married. I've been saving myself for marriage. I'm a tithe, I'm a giver, I do all this great stuff, just stressing out about being not married. And I finally came to a point where I said, Lord, I'm gonna give my life over to you in this area. I'm gonna enjoy being single. Make me a wife. And I stopped desiring to be just married, but be a wife. It's two different things. And he took me on a journey of learning how to love, how to forgive, how to submit, all these things. I'm like, well, God, this is not making me a wife. But I didn't know that's what he was doing. But I became so satisfied with my relationship with God and myself that I had took marriage off the shelf. And I had feelings for him. I said, God, if it's not him, I don't want him. I don't want him. I want the person you want from me. And so we was cool. And then my dad just interrupted all of that with what he said. And I was like, wait, what? I was cool. I was almost offended because I was in a good place, but it was time. The timing was right. Yeah. And
then I started pursuing her, unbeknownst to this conversation. And then that's what happened. But I remember one time I was thinking about going to her father to say, hey, how do you feel about me and Cacie? And if you say no, then I'm backing off. But I was scared to, because I was going to go to my pastor and ask about his daughter. And I was like, and I was back and forth. I was having a similar thing, like, is this really worth this? Is she the blah, blah? And yeah, but we had a situation where she was close to me and my heart just fluttered. And I was like, I've got to do this. But what I did was I said, Lord, I can't go back and forth. I said, I am not going to get with this woman, marry her. And then when I have an issue, then blame you, Lord, and say that, because that's what Adam did. There's so much revelation in those first few books of Genesis that explains this. I just don't have time to teach that lesson right now. But that was Adam's problem. He ended up blaming God for the choice that he made. Adam made the choice, but he ended up blaming God, even though, see, we look for the one as if God's going to force it and make it happen. Like you said, there's been people on this planet. God made a help meet. I say this to people all the time. It's not hard to get married. Go outside and ask 20 people if they want to marry you. One of them will say yes. It's not that hard to get married. And it's like, okay, but I want the right person. Okay, well, therein lies the key. What you want is God's destiny for you in your life. And the first part of that conversation with God doesn't start with who do I marry? The first part of that conversation with God starts with who am I? Who did you make me to be? And then he'll take you through all the steps. And so I had taken much of the first steps, a part of my personal identity in Christ. But now that I was thinking about marriage, I went before the Lord and I said, okay, reveal Cacie to me. If I'm going to make this decision, I need something. I understood faith projects. I understood how to walk by faith. I understood how to speak to God. I understood how to believe God for something. So I said, I need this to be a faith project. I need you to tell me, show me who Cacie is so I can remember this always. And I got in the presence of God. I knew how to pray. I knew how to get in his presence. And I listened. And he spoke to me. He showed me an image of Cacie that was not who she was then, but who she could be. And a part that I could play in helping her become that by nurturing her as her husband. And I fell in love with that image and I locked that in my spirit. And I said, okay, this is how I know. So 10 years from now, we're having issues and we're arguing and we got problems, stuff like that. I can never go back and say that I made a mistake because I always remember when you first dropped that seed in my heart about who she is and who I am to her. And when I had that in my spirit, that's when I went to her father and we got the whole ball rolling. So how do you know? How do you know? How do you know? A lot of problem is people really don't trust themselves, and they don't trust themselves because they don't trust their relationship with God. They don't trust their relationship with God because they don't really have one. They don't know how to hear his voice. Marriage is a very dangerous thing to do when you don't hear the voice of God. Now, can you get it right after? Yes. And here's I'm going to scare some people with this. Here's the truth. There are lots of people who are unsaved who are married right now. If those two people get saved and then submit their marriage to God, it will work.
Yeah.
So that's a scary thought. Because you walked around thinking, I gotta wait for that right person just to make sure this works out. Well, newsflash, there's a lot of people who got together who God had nothing to do with, but if they'll submit their marriage to God, oh, it's going to work and they'll do great things for him. And when you make yourself accept that reality, suddenly the question isn't who is the one, but can I hear the voice of God? And am I willing to submit to the word? Because that's what it comes down to. Now, that's not a license to go and just grab some unsaved person that you think is cute, because you're going to set yourself a lot of heartache. There's a lot of people with a lot of heartache who would go back and do it differently if they could. So it's better to do it right from the beginning. But I'm just letting you know, a lot of times we're asking the wrong question. It's not about who is the one. It's about who God is, who you are in your relationship with him. And then he's going to orchestrate things in your life. He will always give you a choice. He'll never force anything. He'll never force the other person. He'll force you. He can orchestrate something and y'all can both choose to walk away from it. At the end of the day, you don't got to get married. God wants it for you, but you don't got to do it if you don't want to. He won't force you to. And everybody's always going to have that opportunity to make that decision.
And that's why I married this guy. He's a preacher, as you can tell. And I love that about him.
You want to say something first?
Well, I would say this is something that we kind of run into a lot, because though we click very well creatively together and things like that, but we always call it our family culture.
Oh yes.
Every family has their personal culture. I was raised in a home with a lot of girls. I have one brother that I grew up with, and the culture was very different in my home. We had a very set way of doing things, and his family is smaller. They were really meshed and tight together, and they was on top of each other, whatever. And they didn't really need a whole lot of space. I need space. So sometimes we would clash in just how, let's say, washing dishes. When we first got married, I love the fact that he volunteered to wash dishes. I was like, oh, great, this is so amazing. And I loved it. But he would not wring out that dish rag. He would leave a sopping wet dish rag on the counter, and it was And I have found myself being so offended and so mad and so angry. And the Lord was like, why are you being so mad? He washed the dishes for you. You could have washed dishes yourself, but you want to hop on this rag being here. And I can remember saying, babe, can you bring out the rag? And he kept doing it over and over and over again. And then one day we had a conversation, and it goes back to communication really about why it offended me. So I had to break down my whole family culture and how I did things and how I thought about stuff and all my quirks and stuff. And it was a long conversation all over a dish rag. Okay. But you have to find value in making the other person comfortable. Like, I'm not gonna keep doing something just to offend you because I have the right to. It matters to me how he feels. It matters to him how I feel, and we value each other's emotions and feelings about it. So I don't care how small or how trivial it may be to us. And so we sit down and talk about these things, and then one day he's like, I get it. I get it. And every now and then he still keeps the rag sloppy, but I'm not mad because now I understand his heart. I know more about who he is, his motivations, and things like that. So now we work better together in that area.
Yeah, and you made a great, I'm gonna stay on this example, but you made a great point about teams.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people in marriage treat it as if they're on opposing teams. And so you have an argument, you're trying to win against each other. But you're on the same team. And not everybody, if you think about basketball, football, baseball, there's always different positions. But you have the same goal, which is to win. Okay. So if in marriage, the enemy is the devil, y'all on the same team, maybe God's your coach, so many different ways you can look at it. But oftentimes, and actually always, the man and the wife, they're not playing the same position. And so what that means is I'm gonna have certain strengths and certain weaknesses, and we're gonna have personality differences. But if we have the same goal, we're always looking to support each other. So where I am weak, then you're seeking to fill in that gap. When you're weak, I'm seeking that gap. It's not like if I miss a shot, you're going to berate me and cast me off the court. Because again, we're on the same team, we're trying to win. So if I mess something up, if I get an injury, I'm trying to figure out how to help you out so we can continue to win because we need each other. And so just using the dish rag is such an easy to visualize example. If two spouses are constantly looking to compete to serve each other, you're going to end up having a happy marriage because it's just a race to see who can serve each other more than the other. Yeah. And that's a fun competition to have. And so with that example, there's two ways this can be handled. Like you said, communication is vitally important because you got to understand what's going on. So after we communicate it, we both as individuals have a choice. I can say, you know what? I'm going to serve my wife. I'm going to make it a very important thing, list in my head that I'm going to wring out this rag because that's important to her. And she can do something in her head. You know what? I'm not going to attack him for this. If I see it sopping wet, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to just wring it out for him after he's done washing the dishes. So now we both have a servant's mentality. And now we're just competing to serve each other. And now we're not conflicting with each other anymore because we're trying to get the same goal. And I want to add this one about the family culture. You got to build a new family culture. Absolutely. And so when you have different personalities and different ways of doing things, you can't hold to it so hard and just say, well, it's just the way I am, that you don't come and submit that personality to the personality of the household. So you have to sit down and talk about a lot more than you think about. So we sat down and what we decided was, okay, Cacie, you're the woman of the house. So you're going to set the rules of how we engage in the house. And that could be anything. You want the shoes off at the door. You want the dishes washed at this point, with the trash thrown out in the morning as opposed to the evening. Whatever it is, you let me know the rules. I'll let you know if there's anything that I just literally can't do, but then we'll come to agreement on it, and that'll be that. And so I follow her rules of the house. And so that's just the family culture. And so now if there's a violation, because we already set that agreement, I have to remember, okay, what was the rule that Cacie said? Okay, I get where you're coming from. I'm not going to just flip out and be mad because we already agreed to this. And if something needs to change because it's too harsh or something changes down the road, then we come back and revisit.
Flexible. Yeah. And, I like what you said about, our family culture, creating a new culture for us, not just saying, well, this is what my mama did it, so you have to do it this way. I'm not your mom, okay? I'm your wife. And so we had to create our own culture, our own rules, of engagement, how we want to run our home, and take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and make something new. And we're still doing that because, we bought a new home and really excited about that. So we discovered some more differences being in our new home, and we had to stop and like, okay, wait a minute, this is not working, and create a new culture for us. And that's really how we handle situations that come up like that.
The greatest love is for someone to lay down their life for their friends. So when you have a personality quirk that makes you usually go right, but you realize that going right is about to tear you and your spouse apart, The greatest love you can do is sacrifice your way of doing things and meet them in the middle somewhere. And if both spouses do that, it won't be too burdensome for either one. And in that submission to each other, you begin to understand the love of God a lot better and why Jesus goes to the cross for us. There's so much better you learn about the love of God for people when you understand how to properly love your spouse.
All right, so I'm sure that many of you are loving the wisdom dropped by Jalen and Cacie. But was there anything specific that stood out to you? Was there like a quotable quote that you just can't get out of your head and maybe you even like wrote it down because it was so good? Just tell me in the comment section below. I'm pretty sure they'll be interested to know what inspired you. But I just want to tell you a couple more things. So yes, remember, don't forget, this is not the only video in this series. There are many more to come. So you guys have gotten to know Jalen and Cacie because of their wisdom when it comes to dating, relationships, and marriage. That wisdom we can all receive when we study and apply the Word of God to our lives as well. But there's another topic that they're really wise on, and it comes down to the topic of race. So Jalen actually did an amazing series on his YouTube channel with his father where he discussed race. If you guys haven't noticed, we are minorities ourselves. I'm Hispanic and they are African American. So we thought, well, we might have a thing or two to say about, you know, the topic of race. But it's not because we are minorities that we feel that we need to talk about race. That's just one major aspect. The first major aspect of why we are even talking about it is because we want to share it from a biblical perspective. Race relations is huge right now, but what are true, authentic Christians saying about it? And if you're kind of somewhere in between and don't know what to believe or what to think about it, I think you should definitely watch the series. So I hope you guys, can stay on this channel. I'll let you guys know on social media, etc., when that video series is coming out. Lastly, if you like them, and I know you did, you're gonna wanna follow them on social media. I will put all of their social accounts in the description box below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, Jalen and Cacie, and go visit their website, jalenandcacie.com.
Our YouTube channel, and I'm sure Brittany's already linking all of that, but youtube.com/Jalen and Cacie. We'd love it if you would join our Bible study group that we have on Facebook. It's a private group, so just ask to be in it, and then you get accepted into it. And we're actually launching pretty soon some new Bible studies that'll happen. Well, I'm not going to give too much detail until we actually lock it in, but it's going to be happening. So go ahead and join our Bible study group. And on our website, if you have questions for us, we have our Dear Jalen and Cacie tab where you can submit questions. You can be anonymous if you like.
And that's at jalenandcacie.com.
Yeah, jalenandcacie.com. Or you can always send them to Brittany and she'll just have us back on again. We'll just do this all over again. Or we also have, we're doing for the year of 2021, only $21, you can have a one-on-one session with us, a 30-minute session on Zoom, and you can ask us questions directly, talk about your situation, whether it's you with your person, your spouse, or person you're dating, or you single by yourself, wherever you are, single, divorced, married, struggling, halfway to struggling, whatever it is you're dealing with, and you need to get some help. When you could talk one-on-one, you can do that. And for the year of 2021, we're just doing it for $21 because we're passionate about this year, people getting their lives on track and whatever they're dealing with. So that's what we've got going on right now. So be sure to check all that out.
And we're everywhere, Instagram too.
Yeah, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Just look, Jalen and Cacie's everything. We got it.
Just spell the name right. It's all it's important.
Also, if you guys want to follow me, my social media accounts will be in the description box below. You can also subscribe to my channel and you can follow me on my website at bravellydaily.com. All right, I'm Brittany Valadez for bravellydaily.com. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.